What was I going to say? I'll just say something. Just as a general introduction to this, following on a bit from the earlier session, just 2 minutes. And Joel and you know. Samuel Huntington, he talked about the clash of civilizations. Christian and Islamic was the idea. And at this particular moment, if we're thinking about what the BRICS are trying to do, it's multiple dialogue of civilizations. 5 large developing countries, different worldviews, will come to agree on some issues, to agree to disagree on others. Brazil is a part of Latin America. Gindacio Ribeiro's vision, among others, is the newest civilization in the world, having a continuous history of only 500 years. Ours is a civilization based on a mixture of 3 peoples, American Indian, African, and European. If we take China, Chinese history was forged by many peoples in a complex yet single ethnic group, which today occupies about 92% of the population of China. And then we heard Madam talking earlier on about other 8%. India is, of course, the most complex society on earth. Now, my admiration for Professor Sharma, who has wrote on social stratification in India, is immense, because it's just such an extraordinary complex system. And for Indians, and they're always trying to understand the nature of their system against modernity and stuff, but it is far more complex than they ever reveal. So this is part of the culture question. And then, of course, we have South Africa, which comes into the play as very much a leader in Africa, which is why they came in, and then again 11 official languages. India has about 13 big official languages, but 1,300 languages. All of the major religions live. Africa is polytheist, so it has a certain degree of complexity too. And in any case, our political, religious, family, judicial systems are incomparable, as are our cosmologies. Many of our values and interests are also totally dispersed. In some cases, one could be forgiven for thinking that there are so many differences that it's impossible to build meaningful dialogue. Should this be so, the key question becomes, how can we live together? We could substitute mention of China or Brazil for Russia, India or South Africa. The question is, will relationships between the BRICS countries be reduced only to economic exchanges and occasional meetings of head of state, simply because the difference in history, social, political and cultural life render meaningful dialogue impossible? And the bet that Gustavo Lins Ribeiro made when he called together these roundtables is no, we can work together on trying to build dialogue through science. So, and through concepts, obviously, which is happening. And there's one paper that I read that I thought was very interesting. Was from a vice director of Latin American Institute of the Russian Academy of Science, Boris Martinov. His title was called BRICS and the Degrading World Order. And he states, and I've got quite a bit to read from it, about half a page or something, but it is important to signal that civilizations are not only about economics and politics, but about that which operates in the formation of global realities and when faced with politics and economics. This is culture. It is in this overarching scheme that one can discover more similarities between big China, big Russia, big India, big Brazil, and big South Africa. For Brazil, for example, more similarities between Brazil and the rest of Latin America. India is obviously quite similar to Pakistan in many ways. So we have areas of influence that are quite large. It is worthwhile speaking, he continues, in our view, not in terms of giant emerging countries, but in terms of emerging civilizations, which they represent in the contemporary world. We can consider for the BRICS as rising civilizations, it is inherent a common search, maybe an intuitive one, for an alternative model of development, founded in the affirmation of multipolarity involved global politics in the equilibrium in the economy and in trade, and in the attempts to apply the elements of social justice to domestic politics. It appears that the current state of global politics and economy is contributing more and more to achieve these objectives. In agreement with this idea, a civilization synergy, or in other words, a fusion of public and private, of the visionary and the pragmatic, within the vision of the BRICS enthusiasts, is capable of building in the world a creative consciousness which propel the giant countries to occupy the vanguard of mature changes and help them to occupy more important positions in the world for the ANPOCS. This is a horizon of intellectuals and may also become that of segments of today's young people, of other people who interpret society, such as journalists and things. But this is a very interesting text, I thought, because it puts it onto the idea of dialogue between civilizations. And he has one central idea, that the West, okay, it succeeded wonderfully, but then it has failed, and so we need values from other parts of the world to come in and fertilize the world. So we think there's a word in South Africa, you use Ubuntu, which is it's a real concept. In China you have Zhong, the equilibrium. So these are concepts that we may start using one day in our own ways. So without any ado, it's a real pleasure and an honor for me to present Professor Sharma. He was Vice Chancellor of, he was Rector of JNU, which is India's leading university, Jaipur National University in Delhi. Then became Vice Chancellor, which essentially means Rector, President of the National University of Jaipur. Very distinguished sociologist. In this book, that is the first sociology book on BRIC countries we know of, he wrote all about the Indian section, so 8 chapters on social stratification in India, as well as many, many books. He's been invited professor at College de France many times, and has a very wide reputation and is well known. This book is a great point of pride for us all who were involved in the project. And Mikhail Chernysh has also got a chapter in this book as well, and so they've been involved in the BRIC projects. The first time the book was launched was in Chinese by the Academy of Social Sciences in 2011. This book now has just come out in May from Singapore. So we want all your libraries to buy it, so no excuses for not writing down the references and getting your libraries to buy it, okay? No author rights, but you want to have it, because for this stuff to work, we have to read and we have to start understanding it. Okay, so I leave to Professor. Of course, but you need a microphone because they're recording. Yeah, it's working.
Thanks, Professor Tom Dwyer. In fact, you have been the prime mover of this BRICS social sciences, and because of you and my friend Ishwar Modi of India, I could write for this particular book. I have been asked to speak on 3 concepts, interlinking of 3 concepts in the Indian context for this conference here: development, social justice, and empowerment in contemporary India, in India of today. And these 3 concepts have gained a considerable significance in social sciences today in India. And I think these 3 refer to a new India in making. Development, social justice, and empowerment imply a sort of an attack on inequality on the one hand and equality for the unequals and aspirations of the disadvantaged sections of society, including women on the other hand. Now, since the Indian state has been proclaiming all-out efforts to have development, social justice and empowerment, and the people too have such an expectation from the state, a lack in delivery to meet the expectation has been causing concern in social sciences, among the intellectuals, in public in general, and voices of anguish and dissent have surfaced in recent years. Now, discourse on these three concepts, namely development, social justice, and empowerment, has emanated from this kind of a problem which Indian society has been facing in recent years. Now, independence, no doubt, has been a great boon to get rid of colonial and feudal forces. Weaker sections have earned a voice from untouchable to Harijan, and Harijan, the name was given by father of Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Then the constitution has given the name of the scheduled caste, which is the caste which had remained disadvantaged, and now the scheduled caste prefer to call themselves Dalits or the oppressed sections of the society. Officially, development in India is target-oriented, and as such, it has met targets to a considerable extent. Now, growth and development have shown incongruence to a great degree, to a noticeable degree, and this has put a question mark on the policies and implementation strategies of the Indian state. The state alone is not engaged in India in development, social justice, and empowerment. Since 91-92, which is a new beginning